Hey y'all, it sure is good to see you, and it's good to be back home. So as y'all know, me and Jackson we're out in Yellowstone, and they've had a lot of rain while I've been gone. I'm not sure what we're about to walk into. Yeah, I would say they have had their fair share of rain while we've been gone. So what had happened was, right before I went on vacation, we were in a drought, and the pump quit down at the pond, so we didn't have any irrigation. Well, as you can tell, the tomatoes suffered drastically from that, as well as the corn, which it looks like Dad has already come in and bush hogged all the corn down while I was gone. But we had the drought. A lot of stuff suffered really bad. I couldn't get it fixed before we went on vacation. And then, you know, I was getting alert. Whoa, man. I was getting alerts while we were out in Yellowstone of all the thunderstorms coming through. And so these guys have had rain like every day. Holy cow. Every day while we were gone. And since I can't even walk out here, it is nothing but mud. So the rain, it's been like literally feast or famine, either drought or torrential downpours every afternoon. I don't even know if we can get out in the garden. I got my Felcos on my side here. I wanted to go out and cut some okra. Let's maybe try to go this way, but the weeds, oh my goodness, look at the weeds everywhere. I don't even know if we can get out in it, guys. Amazing what 2 weeks can do to a garden. I mean, the pigweed, it's 6 feet tall. The okra though, good gracious. I think Dad's been coming down here some kind of way and harvesting the okra. Squash plants are going out of control. Luckily we've got our boots on. Oh my goodness. All right, we're on a little bit harder ground now. But it looks like Dad's been still working the garden while we were away somewhat, or at least harvesting what he could harvest. He's probably tired of eating squash by now. The squash is, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's pretty much on its last leg. So we're in late July right now, and it's pretty much, you know, time for the garden to kind of just go kaput anyway when it gets this hot. But I was really hoping to be able to harvest enough okra, and there probably is. I want to pickle some. I've got a jar of pickled okra at home, and I just ate my last one yesterday, so hopefully we can find enough just to refill the jar and let it set for a few weeks and have us a free jar of pickled okra. But I really want to try to make it down to the end where we planted the jambalaya. If you remember, we did Clemson spineless right here, which is a great variety of okra, old heirloom, that has always performed really well for us. And then if you remember, down at the end of the okra row, we planted the jambalaya. So I want to kind of compare just to see, you know, what the difference is in between the two varieties. You know, believe it or not, down on this end, this is always the drier end of the garden. The squash actually still looks really healthy. A lot of times what'll happen, and I think this is probably an example of it right here, when you get into these hot, humid nights, you'll get a lot of fungus that'll start attacking the squash. But a good bit of it still looks really healthy, doesn't it? Nice green leaves. I see a bunch of flowers and a bunch of fruit down in there. And then the eggplant down here looks really good. I don't see a lot of fruit, so either Dad has gotten it or, you know, it just didn't set. But I do see a lot of eggplant flowers, and the plants themselves look extremely healthy. Oh, but I hate to see this pigweed right here. This is the most noxious weed that we struggle with down here in the garden. It has these little spines on it that'll stick and poke you. It grows almost overnight. And I mean, all of this garden was like pristine when I was leaving. It looked great. But I mean, those down there, some of those are 10 foot tall. This stuff is just horrible. I hate it. Okay, so Dad must have been picking the eggplant. I see we've got a few little smaller fruits down in there, but we planted way too many daggum eggplants, that's for sure. Okay, well, first big difference I see in the jambalaya okra is it's much shorter. So this is the jambalaya. There's the Clemson spineless. Remember, we left a gap, and we also put us a tag down at the beginning of the jambalaya row. Shorter, stalkier plants. Did I say stalkier? I meant stockier. plants. But yeah, real tough. These are a little bit more leggy. They're still, you know, very rigid, tough plants. And okra does great in our hot summers. Like, this is the time for the okra to shine, is July and August. They prefer it a little bit more dry than it has been lately, but they do extremely well in our heat. But I do like how this jambalaya is much shorter. That makes it a lot easier to come through and harvest. And I do see some nice little okra. This is kind of what I want right here to put in my pickling jars. I do see some bugs in there. Looks like we've got some aphids. There's not enough aphids for me to warrant like spraying them right now. Just have to try to keep an eye on them. Hopefully if the rain will knock a lot of them off, but if the rain will subside a little bit, we'll get some drier air in here. That'll probably help thin some of them out too. I have seen some ladybugs too. So ladybugs will eat the aphids, but my main point is there's not quite enough aphids for me to worry about doing anything with chemicals just yet. But I will say that these plants look really healthy. I love seeing the dark green leaves, so there's still plenty of nitrogen in the soil. And okra, from my experience, can tolerate a pretty wide array of soils. You know, I've had them in some sandier soil, which they tend to prefer. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think they kind of are from Africa or that type of environment, so they can take the hot, dry conditions. And that's why they do so well for us here in July and August. But right now we got to try to make it back to the truck without sinking up to our knees and get us a bag so we can fill it up and make us some pickled okra. Let's zigzag a little bit because all of these peppers caught my eye over here. Good gracious at the banana peppers. Holy moly. Now obviously these are another plant that do really well in our hot and sometimes dry climate. Now it's had a ton of rain as we well know, but these guys can really tolerate the heat too. And it looks like some of them have just pretty much drowned. And again, for those of you who have watched the channel for any length of time, you know that this end of the garden is the lower end that gets really saturated. It stays a lot wetter. And then this end down here, which is just basically nothing but pigweed, which is really bums me out because it's seeding out right now. It's going to seed and it's just going to stay down here. But this end of the garden is the drier end. And look at our poor tomatoes, y'all. You just can't expect them to live in a bog type situation. So they are pretty, not pretty much, they are shot. That's kind of depressing, but I mean, you know, what can you do? It's either been drought or a flood here lately, and no good in between. Well, this is about all I can find, but that'll work. That'll be more than enough for filling up just a jar of pickled okra. And right here is about the perfect size of what I'm looking for. I'll trim off the end of it a little bit more. That right there is bite size. It'll go good in my pickled okra jar. And this right here, this is about as big of a piece that I want. The young tender okra is what we're after, and the okra flowers are actually really pretty. This one's going to be open all the way up probably tomorrow, but it won't take long. There's a good proof right there. It won't take long from it to go to flower to an actual edible piece of okra, just a couple of days, and it's ready to pick. For instance, if you let this go probably one, for sure 2 more days, it's going to be too long, it's tough, and that's when you don't want it. You want nice young tender okra. Ooh, here's a perfect one right here. We can wash it up, clean it up a little bit better when we get home. Whoa, look at this monster right here. We're gonna have to just cut him and throw him out in the field. We don't want to leave it on the plant because it's just going to continue sucking nutrient and energy from the plant. So let's see if I can just twist him since I got the GoPro in one hand. Yeah, that's too big. That would be really tough. You don't want to eat that. But right above it is a really good size one right there, so we'll grab that. We're down in the Clemson spineless now. We're going to go down through here and see if we can't fill our bag up and have enough to do what we need to do with. There's us a ladybug. Go eat some more aphids, ladybug. Tell you what, let's back up and go down this side because the squash has grown up so bad down there. I don't know if we can make it through. And our peas over here, yeah, we got some snap peas coming along too, so Maybe we can come back and get some of those later on in the week. And y'all, I think my father has done just about beat us to the okra, because I'm almost down here at the end of the row and it ain't looking too good for my jar back home. But that ain't nothing to worry about too much, because okra grows super fast, and even that little guy right there will be ready in 2 days. So we can take what we've got to the house, and then all we got to do is just come back. And I don't mind walking through this garden one bit, because this is kind of like my afternoon therapy right here, even though these weeds are really stressing me out. Let's go over here and check something out real quick, guys. Y'all remember this, what was the name of this melon? The crazy Indian melon that we planted, a Kajari melon. We've got a green one right here. Now this is the first time that I've seen these since, well, since we planted the actual seeds from them. I thought they were supposed to be more of an orange color. Let's see if this one, yeah, that one just popped. Oh, well, it popped right off, but it's also popped wide open, probably from all of the rain. Let's see if this one's any good. Nope, this one's done rotted too. Got one more over here in the corner, but I think it's rotten. Yep, as well. Doggone it. We have got to have, I can't even pick that one up. It's so rotten. We have got to have us some drier weather, y'all. Oh, this is horrible. Well, maybe if we get this one in the next couple of days, we'll get to try out that new crazy Kajari melon. But the grass is knee-high. We've got to get down here with a weed eater, a tiller. But we have to be able to do that. And right now, when you're bogging up to your ankles in mud, it's not going to happen. And the last thing I want to look at before we get out of here, well, you remember we planted some birdhouse gourds over here. Oh, look here. There's just a little birdhouse gourd. Yeah, this has done good. It's climbed all the way up the side fence over here. There's another little baby birdhouse and a teeny one. Right, oh yeah, there's a bunch. Good, so at least we'll get us some birdhouse gourds. So at least something is making it down here in the garden other than the weeds. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. We're gonna do a bunch of gardening again this fall, so don't look at the garden and get disgusted. And if yours looks similar to mine, then well, that's just the way gardening goes. We're just gonna get back up, dust ourselves off, and try again. But hope you guys are all doing well. Good to see you. Glad to be back home. Always remember, the more you know, the more you grow. I'll see y'all on the next video.